Ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, it is my privilege to host all of you here and to particularly thank the partners who joined hands together to organize this, and these partners are CTA, the Center for Technical and Rural Development in the Netherlands, represented here by Mr. Andrew Shepard. We have the PANAC represented by the CEO. We have FARA represented by the Executive Director, ICRAF and Dr. Tony Simon, the Executive Director, will join us soon. We also thank all the UniBrain partners who are here from India, from Uganda, from Ghana and Kenya, and also from Zambia for their presence here. So I would like to say that today we have the opening of this Agribusiness Education Fair. We wanted as objective to be able to bring the universities and the tertiary agricultural education institutions closer to the private sector. How do we also contribute to the comprehensive African agricultural development program by generating income for our population, for our farmers? So this is the main objective of this fair today. So we have some speeches, some debates in the room. We also have exhibitions outside that will be presented later on today. And I would like to call upon Dr. Yemi Akimbamijo, the Executive Director of FARA, to come and just give his speech, and we will move on with the program. Thank you very much.
I think it is in place for me to congratulate Dr. Aissatou Yaye and her group for putting this very important event together at a time like this. And I'd like to say that for us at FARA, we consider it an honor to be here this morning at this very special event. I would like to also join my voice with Aissatou to thank the development partners whom she had very, very nicely enumerated, and I won't go into that, for standing behind this initiative. And I think that in itself is a testimony to the importance that we all attach to this event. I would like to also recognize the role of national governments. We have with us here an ambassador representing in his own right his country, Senegal, but also will be invited a short while to say a few words to actually also put an emphasis on the importance of this event. So we're very, very happy that this kind of evolution is emerging. Let me say that the whole story about agribusiness that has now emerged as the latest buzzword is very, very crucial in the context of another buzzword that is already going on for some time, the value chain. And in the whole story of improving and increasing the competitiveness of the agricultural sector. So we are very mindful of that, and to state that the agricultural entrepreneurship already, as we know it, has a great potential for the economic growth of our continent, and also to improve the productivity and income of the farming sector. Therefore, the promotion of the agricultural development of the entrepreneurship and of the sector through agribusiness incubation facilities and job creation cannot be underestimated. And FARA is very much committed to strengthening this new move. And as you will hear later on, there is a lot going on around the UniBrain, which is one of the flagship initiative of FARA, that is supported and funded by the Danish government.
You know, as it is, so we take, we are very concerned about the difficulties we have here, actually in Africa, to try to emerge, to have growth in our continent. And that is why the outcome of such gathering like this one is very, very crucial. So I can't wait really to have the outcome of this, to report to my government. I know that a lot of you coming from some countries of Africa also will do the same. So I wanted only to be here as an act of encouragement of people like you, because I saw in the program that there is distinguished professor coming from a lot of countries of Africa, even elsewhere. And I noticed that it is what Isaac told us earlier, and even the professor, that you have also big partners. I think that we have to encourage those partners also to accompany us in Africa here, to really strengthen the how do you call it, the ideals we have in Africa to really focus on what we have to do in agriculture, to develop it, and also to maybe reach out to our peoples, because there are peoples in the ground all the way Africa. If I can talk about my country, I can say that more than half of the people over there in Senegal are in the agricultural business. But the gathering like this one is really, really important. And as I said earlier, I can't wait to have the outcome of this.
I'm very happy to be with you here in the morning. And indeed, the subject of today is very critical and can never be timely like it is here today. How do we ensure that the private sector and the agribusiness education are working together? This is really a critical issue. I know that right now, many of my colleagues are held up in meetings here and there. I know that this is time for business in Africa, and everybody's running up and down to capture these opportunities. However, we must recognize that we need to ensure that our youth are ready to take up this opportunity, and not only taking up the opportunity, but taking up the leadership. This is the time for ensuring that our graduates, who, as many before, private sector have been complaining, our education is not giving us the graduates that are ready for the market. But indeed, the private sector, if at all, who are here, if you feel that the graduates are not ready for the market, I think we cannot talk. Let us do something about it. I'm very happy to be here today, and I'm hoping that we shall discuss this further. How do you ensure that the private sector and the agribusiness students work hand in hand, are developing, and they are ready for the market, ready to take the development agenda of Africa further? Thank you.
Well, today, there's 3 times as much food sold in African urban markets as there is exported outside of Africa. 3 times. But where's our focus? It's on export. In 2030, that's going to be 10 times. So all of those systems and supply and infrastructure and value chains need to reorientate themselves to the African urban market and the African urban consumer. That's what we've got to do. Let's remember also that the smallholder farmer is the private sector. They live and die by their activities and their ability to generate a livelihood. Of course, in many parts of Africa, that is a subsistence agriculture. And so what's our theory of change? We're trying to take people out of subsistence agriculture to subsistence agriculture plus safety nets, to pre-commercial agriculture, to profitable smallholder agriculture, to sustainable smallholder agriculture. And there's many mechanisms that we can do along the way to try and stimulate that. ICRAF has 3 large and substantial private sector projects, public-private partnerships. One with Mars, one with Unilever, and one with Danone. And why is it that a research organisation links up with the private sector? And why is it that the education sector might want to link up with the private sector? Well, the private sector, they want somebody to ask the tough questions, but in a friendly way. The same questions that Greenpeace and Save the Earth and Oxfam ask them in a confrontational way, they want those questions to be asked in a friendly way. They want you to help them identify business risks, to make investments more sound, to have robust evidence, to trigger follow-on investments and infrastructure, making supply chains more sustainable. So in 2010, the Consumer Goods Forum, which is a body that represents about $3.5 trillion a year of consumer goods, said that by 2020, all of their supply chains would be net zero deforestation free. And they don't know how to do it. There's an enormous education linking up business approaches, monitoring activities, understanding those supply chains, making sure that there's not leakage outside of your own supply chain area. And that's going to require an enormous amount of research, education, mobilization around that goal. The World Business Council Sustainable Development as well is struggling with this linkage between agribusiness, the rural environment, smallholders, livelihood development. And this workshop is a great chance, as I said, to and partners to trigger that learning that is needed. So it's amazing. So here we've got Mars and Unilever and Danone, and they've got some really smart people, and they've got MBAs and 30 years experience or whatever. And the 55-year-old executive will say to the supervisor, I would still like to go for management training. So they're working for a $100 billion a year company, and they're still going for management training. And we think with a smallholder farmer who's struggling on a farmer, we give them a 2-day workshop and now they're trained. So one of the indicators of sustainable agriculture is going to be the strength of farmer institutions. How well they're connected, how well they're organized, their legal status amongst themselves. And that's going to be triggered by the outputs of your thinking and sharing experiences here today. Now, when we look at smallholder agricultures as well, we have to remind ourselves that helping a farmer grow another half a bag of maize is just recycling poverty. We have about 500 million smallholders in the tropics today. 500 million. By 2040, that's going to be about 600 million families. And I would predict 250 million of those families will be smallholders as we see them today.